Good morning, everybody. How you doing?
Morning.
Wanted to, I guess, kick the conversation off about maybe go around the group. What are you doing when you take in new listing inventory? Are you putting a fixed amount out, or are you just saying, "Hey, my fee is whatever your fee is," and then saying the buyer's agent will put it into the contract and we'll negotiate it?
Rob, I'll jump in first. This is Bobby Golden. So the last two appointments that I went on were with two pretty savvy and educated people. One was an accountant and one was an experienced real estate, not an investor, but bought and sold a lot of real estate, personal property and that sort of stuff. But they pretty much, they were telling me what the rules were, and they were accurate in everything that they had to say. So long story short, in those particular cases, both sellers were very comfortable with paying me 2.5% and not offering any compensation to the buyer agent, knowing that an offer would come in with maybe a concession involved, but they were fully prepared to negotiate an offer as it came in.
Okay. How about some of your peers? What are you guys seeing? And ladies, anybody?
Mine is kind of opposite, Kathleen. I listed a builder developer. He asked me what my opinion was. I said I think it's wise to give out the compensation. It's new construction. And he wanted me to check just what the competition was doing. And they were all offering compensation. So he is, and that was a higher priced one. And so I haven't had a problem yet with that. And then on the buying side, I also did a transaction. It was actually the fourth transaction with them. So there's trust there, which is a big difference. I get it. But she's an attorney, and I explained everything that was going on. And she said, it just seems to me it's the same system. It's just a lot more paperwork, no problem. And she signed up.
So when you're filling out the listing agreement, you're putting it in at whatever you're taking for your fee, and you're putting it out at a certain fixed amount.
Correct.
And there's really but there's
Mhm.
really nothing to, I mean, is there anything that would bind them if they decided to say, hey, this person's really, I don't love the offer, but I'll take it at 1%? Because there's really nothing, because we're not putting out an offer of cooperation, right? We're not signing those universal offer of cooperations as a standard of practice, are we? Anybody? Is anybody doing like when an offer comes in, are you signing that broker to broker agreement or no?
Yes, I am.
I haven't experienced it yet, Rob, but your point is right well, your comment is right to the point. Some sellers, even if they're not offering compensation, they could say, well, I won't offer 2.5%, but I'll offer 1% or 1.5%. They have the option of doing it.
All right, but if the offer is good and they say, and let me just play the other end of the transaction, Bobby. If the offer is good, right? And if the offer is good and they want 2.5%, and you have something signed up at 1.5%, I don't think there's anything that would prevent that from being a term in the contract, right? And it's not like somebody's going to come to us and say, per the MLS, you're committed to pay us this. So I think it's kind of playing out a little bit differently than I anticipated. And I just wanted to get a feel from the brightest and the best.
I still think it's negotiable, and probably, with an addendum, you could cover all your bases.
Right. So I'm just going to go around. So Lynn Schmitz, are you getting the seller to give you a definitive amount they're offering as co-op when you sign up the listing?
Am I muted? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm doing it on my phone instead of my laptop. Yeah, right now, every listing we have, when we've gone in and spoken to them and explained how the process is working, they've all agreed to give equal cooperative compensation. And then just last week, we put an offer in on a property, And they said they were offering 2.5%. Our people wanted to offer a little bit lower in price. And the seller came back and said, if I can reduce the cooperative commission or the commission overall, they would accept our client's offer. We just did an addendum to our buyer broker agreement and we made the deal happen. So I think you're right. Even if it's written in stone as we're absolutely giving 2.5%, we still can negotiate it.
Were you on both sides of that one?
No,
Then why would you, were you on the buying side?
yes,
Okay, so you amended your buyer broker agreement.
correct,
Gotcha.
correct. But all of our
So-
listings are giving 2.5. If we're 5, they're giving 2.5.
All right, so I'm going to go around the circle again on the buy side because that brings up an interesting question. And I'm going to hit Florida first just to kind of get a sense for what's going on there. I see we have Michael Gopi.
Hey Rob, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. So you want to know on the buy side or the sell side? I could
So
tell
you're
you both.
you're taking a listing, okay?
Okay.
Are you filling in a buyer's agent commission or buyer agent or a concession into the listing agreement at time of original listing?
Yeah, so the last 2 listing appointments I went on and I got the listing. I told the seller before the change and now the seller's always had the choice. So I did research in the neighborhood and this last property that I listed had about 25 listings and all 25 were offering a seller concession. So I was just basically educating the seller. And again, I told them it's their choice. I didn't force them. I was just giving them the research in the neighborhood. And all 25 was offered a seller concession, and they decided to offer a seller concession of 3% to the buyer's agent.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any issues the last 2 listings of the seller being competitive because I was of the research in the neighborhood. So it was pretty smooth. And then in the buy side, because I take everything, buyer, seller, even experience. I'll even take a renter. I take anybody. So on the buy side, I haven't really everybody's offering a seller concession. I haven't seen one listing agent that's not offering a seller concession. So yeah, we fill out the buyer, the broker form.
That might be also, Michael, because Florida is a little bit softer market than we have here in Jersey. But thank you for sharing that. Let me just hit Eric, Marlene, and Ron, and then Scott Kaplan. So Eric, are you filling in a comp when you take the listing, saying there's a co-op of or a seller concession of 2.5%, 3%, whatever?
Yeah, I asked the seller, do you want to get the highest possible price for your house? And they all say yes. And I said, well, there's only one way to get the highest possible price for your house. That's to get all 42,000 brokers excited about showing your house. And the only way you can do that is by offering a buyer broker compensation. I've had not one seller say no.
Now, do you, when your properties are being showed, Eric, does everybody ask, is your seller offering comp and what is it? Or is it sporadic or is it a majority?
They're actually asking for us to send over a broker compensation form.
Okay, and are you doing that for most of your listings prior to showing?
Yes.
So you are, Lynn, are you doing the broker to broker comp form or no?
Seller to broker.
Seller to broker.
Yeah, we have a seller to broker, so it would be just the same as usual. I
Okay.
guess broker to
So
I think you
We've
mean
done
broker to
both.
broker.
broker to
A
broker.
broker to, yeah.
Yes.
okay. And I'm just gonna give an asterisk here. If you have anything that, might be marginal in terms of the seller being able to compensate, in the event it's a short sale or something, I'm looking at you, Glenn. I was walking with Dave at Wainwright. He said that you guys had a listing that you didn't know was underwater, right? Commercial listing in Booton.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That,
That's sold though.
yeah, yeah, no, I understand, but I mean, if you get into a scenario like that where the seller can't perform and pay it, if we're doing the broker to broker, technically we're committing ourselves to pay that commission. So that's a fringe case, but I'm just putting that out there. So Lynn, you're doing the broker to broker. Eric, you're
Yes.
doing the broker to broker. Michael Gopi, you're sending that out with at time of offer or at time of showing?
I'm sending it at the time of offer.
Okay.
I want to have everything up front, so there's nothing at the end. With the shortfall, Lynn, this is kind of what our team has been role playing. If there's a shortfall, because we know our worth, I don't want to. If there's 2.5% and that the buyer signed with you, but the seller's only offering 2, I wouldn't. We wouldn't take 2. We would position it to the buyer. Good news, positive. Good news. We were able to save you 2%. To reduce the majority of that closing cost. But I think I would still know my worth and take that 0.5% from the buyer. But if you position it in a positive spin and let them know you're able to save them a majority of that closing cost, I think that you still can pull it off, in my opinion.
I like the idea. Marlene, how are you? I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself. Are you?
I am. Yes.
Are you doing the same thing, signing listings up with a 2.5% seller concession, doing the broker to broker form at time of showing or at time of offer?
At time of offer, I had one listing that I did the broker to broker, and I put it on the listing and I explain everything to the seller, and I haven't had pushback at all on both my listings
Fantastic.
that I just took. So one of the listings, they gave a full 6%, 3 to us, 3 to the other, to the buyer's
Very good.
agent.
Very good. Ron, real quick, are you similar? Ron
Yeah,
Pickler?
very similar. I don't, I explained it to the sellers that we do need outside help and that I try to get 6% and keep 3.5 and give 2.5 away. But sometimes you have to take 5 and give 2.5 to 2.5. So, but normally on our listings, agents, the buyer's agents call me, ask me if we're cooperating. I said, yes, we are giving you 2.5%. And we use the
Very good.
compensation for them.
And Scott Kaplan, you'll close it out for Florida?
Yes, we're giving cooperation. All my listings so far have agreed. We have not had any issues.
Okay, fantastic. And King of Real Estate, Justin, what's going on in Virginia Beach?
So we're pretty much, I would say it's business as usual. All of our listings currently have a compensation being offered that's pre-negotiated percentage. And then on the buying side, it's about half and half. I'm seeing half of them. They're all, I'm seeing them being offered, but half of them are kind of very hush about it. It's negotiable. It depends what the offer looks like. And then the other half are actually giving me a certain percentage, but that broker to broker is being sent over at time of offer.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Kathy Falco. Are you signing up your listings with a seller concession or a buyer broker fee being offered? Or is that being left as a negotiable term?
No, I'm signing them up with it.
Okay. Patrick.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I think Chopper can attest to it a little bit better. I think out of all the listings Chopper's taken, he's only had one that didn't want to cooperate. And Chopper, I think, can tell a quick story about that deal because it's a perfect reason why you need to offer cooperative compensation. But other than that, everyone's been willing to offer it out. And as far as the co-broke form, I just had a deal accepted. I sent that along with my offer and I got that endorsed. It was sent out to all the attorneys during attorney review. So everyone sees it right then and there, what each agent is getting compensated.
Now, Patrick, if you have something that, if you come across a seller that's offering, are you getting your buyer brokers at 2.5 or 3? More or less, which one is more probable?
I would say 2.5 is probably more probable, but also it could be commercial tenant, for example. If it's a commercial tenant, it might be 5 or 6%.
All right. Well, let's keep it to resi, just because I don't want to mix it up too bad. So if you're putting it in a buyer broker at 2.5, and you come across somebody that's offering a 3% comp, are you setting the expectation to rewrite that, or how are you handling that?
Yes, the expectation I think would be to rewrite that buyer's brokerage agreement to account for the 3%. And what I would do is I would say that this buyer brokerage agreement only pertains to this property. If this doesn't end up working out, we'll re-execute a new buyer's agency agreement at the original 2.5% that we agreed to.
Fantastic. All right. So Chopper, he teed you up. What's the story?
Well, as a side note, tomorrow I'm going to present to the Bergen Board of Attorneys on the Sitzer Burnett case and about our new buyer agency. So it should be interesting. You know, I'll take a couple stabs at those attorneys that are in attendance. So like Patrick said, you know, I was warned about the dynamic before I got into the home here in Oakland, and it was obvious as soon as I entered that my client, she had an agenda to tell me she was the most knowledgeable person in the room, and I was cool with it. I go, where did I take my bumps and bruises? And she was adamant about not giving out a buyer's compensation. I said, okay, you know, you have all the answers. There was no way to refute it.
Right.
So we list the house for $550. First offer out of the box, $625 with they asked for 2% buyer agent compensation. She came back and countered with 1%. The buyers were offended, upset, and walked away. We're now under contract at $570 with a $10,000 seller's concession, so she's netting $560. When I bring up the fact that it would have been nice to get the 6.25, she's like, well, I don't like to look back. I said, well, 60 grand, I'll go looking for. I said, I'll go down, I'll go for a hole to find that 60,000. I do have a couple deals where agents from other companies are getting an extra 0.5%. Most of my clients give out 2% buyer broker commission. And I have 2 under contract right now where they're getting the extra 0.5% from their buyer. So, you know, we're trying to teach our team members their value and what they're worth. But that story works out good because I tell it to all my clients now when I go on a listing, and they don't want to learn the hard way. So it's working well.
No, hopefully we don't have to learn that story multiple times, but you have that. Mr. Baker, congrats on your new location. I see you're in it.
Yes, thank you.
So Glenn's opened up a satellite office in Boonton, and we just had Boonton Day. It was a great event despite the rain. What's going on with your team, and what are you seeing, Glenn?
Everyone has the client agree to provide a concession, and it's not even a point of conflict or discussion. Haven't had any. And I've had no offers of zero compensation on the buy side.
And you're sending the broker to broker comp out when offers come in?
Correct.
Glenn, I have a question. How are you, like, I'm just curious, like, I know with Chopper's one client who's very adamant about not giving out compensation. Have you had pushback from anybody about that so far? And if they're not willing to give compensation, is that a listing that you'll still be willing to take?
I think the answer is yes. Haven't had any say it, but our entire presentation has it from the start, educating them on why it's critical. And I'll be very honest, maybe I'm lazy, but I do zero homework on the comp of the listings in the neighborhood. I go out knowing I'm getting 2.5% on each side. I don't have any other discussion. It's not really even an option in my mind.
What's your opinion on, I'm gonna use the term lousy agents, right? Lousy part-time agents where you have to do their job. Cause we've all been there, right? And if they can't support their value, is there an argument for, you know, different compensation for different buyers agents? Or am I like barking up the wrong tree?
I think once you said it, it's pretty much etched in stone, but I would say 70% of our deals, we do most of the work. You get 30% of the outside brokers lazy or incompetent, and we have to follow up and do all the hard work ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I look at it very simply that whenever I'm in a deal, I just want to get my side done with the client. And I know that when I'm done with the deal, their client is my client going forward because I'm following up immediately with them. I don't care that they just finished representing them. Their agreement's done. And now that purchaser or other side of the deal is now my client. So they're not
I
going to
do
get
the same
business.
thing.
They'll
I
run the way right out of the business is my take, Rob. I just look at it like that.
So Glenn, when you're in, let's just say you're in tight deals, right? And they're like, hey, you know, we'll take that deal, but will the buyer's agent throw in 0.5 or 1%? A lot of the weaker buyer's agents would probably be inclined to do that. And, you know, if you're looking at your fiduciary to the seller, do you want to have that flat, you know, 2, 2.5, 3 going out in all circumstances?
Yeah, I think that it really is scenario based. I have thrown in money on deals before, but it depends on the scenario and if it's going to benefit my person, right? But I don't publish that. Means it's an exception rather than the rule. But you know, I look at it almost like the 1% listing agents, right? They're going to work their way out of the system. You can't afford to be in this business that way, right? And I just need to pounce every opportunity I get on everything that surrounds their business, which is what I do.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a little bit more prominent where, you know, people are going to be negotiating the buyer side. And because I write down 0 as a seller concession or as a buyer side commission, doesn't mean that we won't offer out anything if it's negotiable, right?
Yeah, everything is. Yeah.
So I'm surprised that so many of us have that number fixed. And Charles, are you able to chime in on this?
Sure. What would you like me to answer specifically?
Are you having a fixed amount out on the majority or all of your listings?
Yes, and all my clients have agreed to provide cooperative commission.
Okay.
And if it's on the lower side, under 2.5%, I've seen about half of the agents accept that, and the other half put into the offer, adding like 0.5% or 1/4% to get it to 2.5%. So I'm not seeing any pushback or conflicts at all whatsoever. Typically what I do is I let them know all the appointments get scheduled through me. So when they request an appointment, I let them know what the commission is. And then once the deal is consummated, then we do a broker to broker just to memorialize it. And it's in the offer.
And have you had any buyer agreements where you've underpriced your service to what they're offering?
No, I make it very clear in the buyer's agency agreement, explicitly clear, that I will do whatever I can to have them pay no money out of pocket. I'll use all my negotiation skills, do my best. However, I give them examples. I say if they're providing, let's say my buyer agency agreement is at 2.5%, I say that if I will request 2.5% or higher. If I get that, no issue. If it comes in under that, then they're responsible to make up the difference. And I've gotten no pushback whatsoever on that. They fully understand it.
Great. And
But
then,
they value the service I'm providing. It's like it's like preeminence. I've already established myself as an expert, so they don't even question me.
so the buyer side trophy goes to Michael Gopi for Mindset. Hey, good news. You only have to pay half.
Mm-hmm.
Actually,
Thanks, Rob.
I really, I like that, that mindset as opposed to adjusting the commission, right? And it all depends on how you set it up when you, I guess, sign up the agreement as well. Yes, is anything else that I can do? I know we're getting to the end of this. Anybody have any questions or thoughts for me to?
Hey, Rob Eric here.
Yes,
So
sir.
when this first came out, I had a listing and I said, I'm going to test this out. And a lady called me up, an agent called me up, actually it was a Remax agent, called me up and said, are you co-broking? I said, yes. And she said, how much? And I said, well, does it matter if I say 2%, would that matter? Or if I said 2.5%, would it matter? She goes, yes, if it's 2%, I won't show it. So even though we've taken it out of the MLS, the same old rules still apply. So it just so happens I was paying 2.5%, but I was surprised that she wouldn't even show it. Because I thought for a lot of these agents, they'd be happy at 2%, but some of them aren't.
You know, I asked them when they're asking me about compensation, if they've shown the house or not. Because I kind of put them on the spot about that. What do you care what it is? You're going to get something, you know. There again,
Yeah.
that's the whole basis for the lawsuit was the
Hey
steering.
guys, I'll just jump in real quick on that. I mean, I'm more of a buyer's agent, and so I asked that question before I show any of my my buyers any property, and it's because we need to know what does my client need to come out of pocket with. You know, if it's 2%, 2.5%, great, fine, whatever it is, that's fine. But if it's 0% and we're spinning our wheels, you know, and my client needs to come out $10,000 out of their pocket, it does make it a little bit more difficult. And so it's really nice to have that information up front. So I do get a little annoyed when I get listing agents not giving me any information on that stuff. I do provide it on my listings. I think it's a decent courtesy, but I was about to ask kind of like, you know, what is everybody doing when they get in that phone call? But it sounds like majority of us are not offering that information. And that really, it's tough for a buyer's agent because you're out there showing property to somebody and it turns out that that's going to cost them an extra $10,000 and you can't really prep them on that preemptively. It can make it a little sticky.
No,
I'd want to
I
know.
always tell them, I
I'd
just
want
want
to know,
them to
though.
avoid steering, that's all. You know, I try
No,
to
it's
get
not
it to
steering.
what's going on.
It's not steering. I mean, you're offering a compensation. It's like he said, if you're working with a buyer, I want to know I'm getting paid. I don't want to know, you know, well, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I need to have something set so I can put it in writing and then have it set in stone. This way, you know, if you have 1% from the buyer, 2% from the buyer, you can negotiate those numbers with your buyer.
No,
I
always
I
tell
told
them, I
her,
just try to see what their motivation or how far along they are.
Yeah, you're
I
not
did tell
steering.
her we were compensated 2.5%.
All
But
right.
I
Yeah, as long
told her
as
it was
there's a figure,
2.5%, but
that's
I
what
was
helps.
surprised.
So,
Yeah, as long as we know.
So I think there's some additional discussion that we'll pick up on next Monday with regard to this. I'll do a little bit more homework. This Friday's mastermind is going to be on buyer offer, presenting buyer offers. And I wondered if anybody has anything you want to share, if you want to text me privately and be part of that. Because I had actually worked with this weekend 2 agents that were pretty experienced that I thought their whole process of coming up with a buyer's offer with the client was flawed. And if anybody has anything you want to contribute, that would be really that would be helpful if you wanted to volunteer. So just text me privately, but I'm just like, there has to be more of a system, in my opinion, than let the buyer decide what they want to offer. We have to give them some, some guardrails and some foundation for it, so.
I
Appreciate
agree.
every,
All right,
I
thanks,
agree.
I
Wait,
appreciate
Rob, can I-
everything.
Guys,
Thanks for
hold
the-
on one second. Guys, can everyone hold on one sec, Rob, if I could hijack the call for a second?
Yep.
I'm gonna reach out to everybody probably in the next 24 hours. I have property up in Tennessee, and I don't know if the news is really showing. The mountains of Tennessee, North Carolina got completely devastated. We're talking, obviously we know down in South Florida, North Florida, millions of people without power, but the mountains are really, really bad. We've lost bridges, roads. There's no access. The National Guard is literally going with helicopters to evacuate people. One of the local fire departments, the Elk Mills Poga Volunteer Fire Department, got washed away. Literally, their fire truck got washed away in the floods. So we're going to be starting up, trying to set up a charity drive and donations, and then probably if we can make it this weekend, because the roads are so bad, we're trying to find the roads to even get to our property. But I want to keep everybody kind of open-minded and aware. And I am going to reach out. So if you guys, anyone, anywhere you are able to help, I'd really appreciate it, because everybody's just, it's utter devastation. Big cities, a lot of times there's a lot of people to help, but this is legit in the mountains, people with no money, and bridges are gone and they're trapped and stranded. And so anyways, if you guys could just keep an eye out for when I start posting stuff, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you,
Okay,
Scott.
will do.
We'll keep them in our prayers, and I'll see you all next Monday. And if you have anything for Friday, let me know. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good week,
Thanks.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rob. Take care.